Howdy everyone. Alright, so let me get you caught up on what's been going on out here in the shop. Obviously this is the Cowling and it is obviously not on the airplane. What I've been trying to do is fix the inconsistencies on the inlet ducts or the inlet cutouts. If you recall, on these outside corners there is a mismatch between the bottom cowling and the top cowling. Of course, this is upside down, right? So this is the bottom. But on this outside corner, there was, they didn't match correctly. So I've mixed up a batch of epoxy and some flocks and mixed up a slurry and just put that on the corners. I had done that once already. I took this outside after everything was dry and I filed it and sanded it and reshaped it a little bit. And I decided that I needed to do some more. So I put another layer on, which is what you see here. These are nothing more than pieces of aluminum wrapped in wax paper, stuck between the two cowls just to maintain that gap between them. And this works really well because I can basically, if I start to wiggle this a little bit, they'll slide right out and it leaves a nice, even, consistent gap. This particular aluminum, I believe, is 32 thousandths of an inch thick. I went a little thicker. The gap between the two cowlings, when everything is on the plane and everything is pinned, all the hinges are pinned, that gap was around that size anyway, a little bit bigger because, like I said, my plan is to wrap these. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but anyway, this worked for me, and I believe it's 32 thousandths. So these are going to get pulled out. The cowling will remain pinned to one another with the screws temporarily in place. That way I can shape these corners to one another. And then I can separate the top and bottom cowling and fine tune those from the inside, clean up the inside a little bit and things like that. I'll show you more of that when I get there. But this is what I'm going to tackle first today, is trying to get this finally shaped correctly and cleaned up and finished. The other things that I've been doing, I've already talked about on the cowling or on the baffles, how I've been fitting these front pieces. These have already been done. I've been working on brackets to hold the front pieces. I've worked on these curved angle pieces. I believe I already talked about those. If I haven't, the instructions that Van provides works really well. Of course, everybody's application is different, so this Snorkle inlet area is, slightly modified so it will fit my particular setup, which means these are also slightly modified and how they're mounted is slightly modified. I won't go into all that because everybody's situation is going to be different, and like I always say, at this point you should already know how to bend aluminum, shape aluminum, edge finish, drill, tap, dimple, countersink. We should already know all that stuff, so I'm not going to bore you with going over that here. But this now is completely finished. It's riveted, it's screwed, it's bolted. That's not true. It's not completely finished because I still have to permanently attach this side piece to this front half. Obviously, that's why that's all clecoed, because nothing has been riveted yet. But I'm not going to do that because this side piece is going to have to be shaped to match these fiberglass inlet ramps. These go on the top, the inside of the top cowling. So these get fitted first to the cowling itself, and then this is going to have to be trimmed to match. So this is not going to get riveted until I have it final trimmed. So I didn't want to fit those inlet ramps to the top cowling until I get the top and bottom cowling shaped correctly. Now that seems to be coming along, at some point I can go and fit the inlet ramps, put everything back together, trim this to the ramp, and then I can start riveting this stuff together. I believe I've already talked about these rear baffles. These have been riveted, and I've sealed up a lot of the seams like I've showed before. There's a seam here that's been sealed. There's a seam here that's been sealed, and around in these areas you can see potentially inside here this has all been sealed. And then my air ducts are also riveted and sealed. And then I started working on baffles. So I took my baffle material, or I guess the whole unit is a baffle, right? But this actual sealing, I believe Vans calls it a fabric. It's just a piece of rubber. I took my roll. Here's part of the roll there. I cut it into a strip, and then I measure from the bottom of the strip up. I think I came up a 1/2 inch. This is where the rivets are going to go. And then it's just a matter of cutting and shaping and fitting onto the actual baffles themselves. You can see I've got some cutouts here in the baffles. The baffle is basically shaped to match the shape of the aluminum. I don't know if you can see that here. And again, with the aluminum, you could see the top edge of the aluminum. I come down from there. I think it's 3/8 for the proper edge distance for my rivets. And that's a slow process. It takes some time to get these fitted. They tend to fight you a little bit because they have a natural curve to them. The way that they're shipped, they're rolled up. So they might fight you a little bit. But again, just more of the same, you know, just cut it, shape it, fit it, drill it, Cleco, all that good stuff. I've elected to do this RTV stuff here on these baffles. This is something that I had taken from the RV14 baffle instructions. I've been on the forums, and there's plus and minuses with everything. So I'm going to try this just like it is. In hindsight, I don't know that I should. Because if you can imagine, this is going to sit up against the curve, the rounded part of the cylinder itself, the actual cylinder fins. This gets wrapped around those. These are supposed to prevent the aluminum from directly chafing on the cylinder fins. But if you have these here, there's going to be a gap then between the fins that rest on these and this part of the aluminum. So in theory, air can escape out the sides of this. And I don't know, you know, once these are pulled tight, are those fins going to dig down into the RTV a little bit and close up this gap? I don't know. I didn't think it through. I thought it was a good idea initially. I'm obviously not going to try to take this off. So I'm just going to run with it like it is, literally, and see what the engine says. And if it's not happy, I'll have to revisit that. But I think it will be fine. So like I said, next up is going to be the work on the cowling. And then once I get that done, I can either come back and start working on these again, or I can go ahead and start on the those fiberglass inlet ramps. All right, so that's the latest and greatest. I'm going to take this cowling outside and start trimming it down and shaping those inlets. And I will talk to you guys later.